Okay, now whenever you wanted to go, we'll start.
Yada hey yo hey da hey ho hey ha hey yo hey hey ya da hey ho hey ha yada hey yo hey da hey oh hey ha hey do hey hey ya
This is the Fort Belknap Reservation, the Little Rocky Mountains, and we're here overlooking the Big Worm Valley concerning the mine, the Pegasus gold mine that they plan to expand. We're here because we are concerned about this place that is called Big Worm and the surrounding areas. This place is very wonderful, and it's beautiful, and it means a lot to a lot of Indian people and a lot of people. And if they do expand, we do not know if it will be ruined or affected, which is why they are scared to let them proceed, because this place has been here for millions of years, and it is very beautiful, and we as Indian people look at the mountains and the land as our mother, and we cannot understand why they would want to cut open our mother and take her parts from her, because we do not see the importance of the gold. We see the importance of the land and the future generations that are to come. And if this place is affected, not just the animals, but many future generations to come are going to be affected. And if we do let this happen, then it can be nothing but heartache.
The Zortman-Landusky mines in north-central Montana are cyanide heap leach gold mines located in the Little Rocky Mountains, adjacent to the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation. These mines have illegally discharged toxic wastewater south into the Missouri River and north across the reservation and into the Milk River.
I work for the Environmental Protection Department. I'm kind of familiar with it. They plan a 1,000-acre expansion up here in the Zortman side, right above Lodgepole, and we have 3 pretty pristine streams yet over here on this side. Beaver Creek, Lodgepole Creek, Big Worm Creek, and I think the Browns Canyon Creek comes down there too. And I think we're really afraid that if they get that expansion, which will be for the first time in the state of Montana, they're gonna mine sulfide ore on a large cyanide scale like this. And we're really scared that this mining will impact those few remaining streams on this side of the mountain.
Yeah. I don't know. That whole thing, it's as scary as a nuclear war. You know, this is our watershed, and you know, it all flows down. In fact, the water from the Bear Paws, the water from the runoff from the Bear Paws, and the runoff from the Little Rockies comes right through our place, my folks' place. You know, that they bought our ranch. And so there's no doubt in my mind, you know, that it affects us. It not only affects us through the water, it affects us through the air again. Because, you know, this wind comes over the mountains and it blows the dust that away.
And another problem these residents are complaining about is that not only the quantity of water is always a scarce thing here, but also the quantity of water. Meaning that a lot of the housing people here have told us that the water's been orange and red showing up in their bathtubs and their showers and their sinks and their washers and stuff, where they do dishes and stuff. But I think this is, myself, I kind of think that the mining companies' use of large amounts of water to mine with, and their use of deep wells into the aquifers of the Little Rocky Mountains to mine with, is the cause of these community systems drying up, and also the reddish color showing up in the housing units, because we never had this problem before until the mining companies have been constantly expanding since '79, and it seems to be getting worse. And then when you get around that bend over there, that water takes right and heads north right onto the Fort Belknap, right through the center of the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation, and we're suspecting that there's a lot of mine tailings that are migrating downstream and having adverse impact on the water quality here. We can't afford to hire any geologists or hydrologists or any specialists to test it for us at this time, but maybe sometime in the future we'll be able to get an assessment of what the natural resource damage is to these streams originating in the Little Rocky Mountains. This butte here is called McCann Butte nowadays, but the Grovon tribes used to have a lot of respect for that butte, and different spiritual people used to go up there and fast. Oh, it must have been around over 100 years ago they used to use that butte for fasting purposes. And that butte there's one of the last traditional elders of the Grovon tribe was named Buffalo Bull Lodge. He fasted up there last. And he's said to got a lot of powers for healing ceremonies and spiritual ceremonies up there on that butte. This was in the time when there wasn't any reservations and the Grovon tribes could roam freely throughout this north central Montana. There was no boundaries at that time. And then lately, some of the younger people, the younger Grovon people, such as Warren Matt, they have been going up there to revive their spiritual connection with the Creator and the rest of His creation, to learn how the old timers used to do it, and also to seek vision questing and ceremonial powers to help with survival blessings.
What it is it's polluting the environment, the natural environment, and also the waters and the streams and the drainages here, and it flows down to the north. The water streams end up in the Milk River, and to the south they end up in the Missouri River, which both end up in the Mississippi River, and then they end up in the ocean. And then the sun hits the ocean and it evaporates it, and it ends up back in the atmosphere, and it comes back down into the populated areas and populated countries of the world. So this is not just a lodgepole problem, it's a worldwide problem.
As human beings, if we use a little common sense in anything, we'll come to a direct conclusion. There's an Indian elder that made a statement. He said, the human being is the only animal on earth that can outsmart itself. and it's true. You know, no other animal will do themselves in. Thank you. But a human being will. And they won't have second thoughts about it. Oh, a few weekends ago, I come out to Hayes, and with one of my sons and one of my daughters, we drove up in the canyon. In fact, I took them all the way up to that gate, you know, above the campground there,
Yeah.
above the Sundance and above the powwow ground. We went all the way up to that gate, and we were looking at that. And those kids, they could see how bad it is, you know. And you didn't have to say a thing to them. They could see it, you know. And that's reality.
Did they ask you any questions when they first seen it?
And you know, again, we've got to say, hey, this whole mountain range, the little Rockies, are sacred to our people, and you know, don't touch them. On the north, east, west, south, you know, west side, you name it. They're all sacred to us, and don't touch them. They're all sacred to us, and don't touch them.
One of the things that the grassroots organization pressured the BLM into was recognizing the National Historic Preservation Act. Mm-hmm. And within that law, there is a procedure for setting aside Native American cultural historic properties that could be considered eligible for National Historic Preservation under that law.
I know.
And I think that was one of the things that some of the grassroots group was hoping that would halt or help slow down the ever-expanding mining operations up here. And right now, I think it's working. I think all this has taken a real hard impact on Pegasus. I think they're hurt.
And here we have some pictographs of what looks like a circle, or half circle, painted on a wall with what looks like a being inside of it. It could be resembling a sweat lodge too.
So see what's right over there. Is there something right here? Oh, I was looking there.
This is some of the things that we're trying to preserve here, is these ancient remains and ancient caverns and pictographs. And there's a lot of ancient Indian artifacts and things still remaining in the area. Campsites, teepee rings, prehistoric bones, things like that we want preserved, and we're afraid these might be destroyed by the ever-expanding mines, I should say. Because the mining expansion, the mining came in 1979 and has been expanding ever since, and right now they're waiting for another expansion of around 1,000 acres, and we're afraid eventually they'll get all these things destroyed, and the public will never be able to reclaim these type of are both archaeological and sacred things. The Indian tribes still consider these sacred areas where our ancestors used to live thousands of years ago.
He said, well, Warren, he said, if you think that mine looks bad from the ground, he said, you ought to fly over it. He said, I've got a friend who does some flying, in small planes, and he said, he flew me over it not too long ago, and he said, it really looks bad from the air. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to say, hey, there's something unnatural going on over there. And it's going to affect us. It's not only going to affect us as human beings, but it's going to affect the environment. And it's going to infect the water, the air. And that's one of the things a lot of people overlook is the air quality. The dust from the mine blows onto the reservation from over there. And this is a proven fact.
About 1892, 1893, the Bureau of Indian Affairs Indian agent discovered that there was miners mining illegally on the south end of the reservation in the area where we're standing today. And one of them was named Landusky, and one of them was named Zortman. And they set up a small mining operation to use pick and shovel to dig out the gold nuggets that was laying close to the surface of the mountain top. Anyway, he wrote a memo back to his superiors in Washington, D.C. and the Indian Affairs Office and brought their attention to it, asking him what he should do with them, because they were mining illegally on the reservation and had taken out hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gold in 1892, 1893, 1894. So what the Indian Office decided to do was send out some Indian agents to negotiate these lands away from the tribes. Anyway, they sent out a guy named George Bird Grinnell in 1894, and him and two other Indian agents met with the Assiniboine and Gros Ventre tribes over here in the Lodgepole and Hayes areas, is where they were camped at that time. And they couldn't talk English, so they got some interpreters to talk for them to the head male Indians of the tribes. And they explained that the Great White Father in Washington, D.C. wanted to buy these lands. So they met with the tribes here for about 3 or 4 days, kept talking to them. Finally, they talked them out of these lands here. Not all of them agreed. Quite a few of them refused to sell any more land because they started out with, I think, about half of the state of Montana was set aside for Indian reservations prior to that time of 1888. And they didn't like to sign any more treaties because they kept getting smaller and smaller territory to roam on, and hunting and fishing was getting scarce and it's hard to survive. So they were becoming dependent on the U.S. government for rations and beef and stuff to feed their women and children with. So in 1894 they succeeded in coercing the two tribes out of these 40,000 acres or so of rich mineralized lands here. In return, they told them that they would just take the rock, and then when they were done, they'd still have the grass, the trees, and the water, and it would be returned to them after they were done getting the yellow metal from the ground. And so this became known as the one of the last treaties that the two tribes were involved in history. It's called the Grinnell Agreement, but it still holds the same validity as a treaty. And today the Zortman Mining Incorporated has put in for another expansion request. I think there's been 15 altogether, approximately 15 expansions since '79. Now they're putting in for their 16th one, and they want to go another 1,000 acres, which we're afraid will impact these few remaining clean drainages, creeks and streams and aquifers that come onto the south end of the reservation of Fort Belknap. This is one of them here, the Lodgepole Creek.
It worries me because again, I think the state and the EPA, they're going to eventually issue that expansion. And I think that they're basically hoping that Island Mountain Protectors and Red Thunder and Tribe and anyone else involved on the Indian part, that I think that they're hoping that they'll just hold off and be, omitted, left out. And I think that when that does happen, we've got to arm ourselves. If we want to protect this reservation and the people, it's going to take armed confrontation. And we better be ready to do that, or shut up and move out someplace else. Because to me, our reservation is gone.
Thin wire, and that decision is going to be real hard for them to make. So what I think is that if we can get out there and reach their supporters, the people that are buying their stocks and bonds and investing in their foreign corporations and their multinational corporations, if we can reach them people and let them know the truth of what they're supporting up there, the total destruction of the environment, the total destruction of the traditional cultural resources, and the future of our children and grandchildren, I think if we can reach them people, I think
This is our land, and we depend on the water very much here. And without water, our land would be ruined, and so would our homes.